afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Grow Your Business with Digital Marketing, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please mark your calendars for the next webinar in our Digital Bootcamp series, How to Manage Your WordPress Website. And that's happening on July 7th at noon. I'll drop the registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session, time permitting. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 21 years of experience in technology and is a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA. He believes new technology products have the ability to help shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session on growing your business using digital marketing. In the session today, I'm going to be covering some of the most important strategies and tactics and tools you can use as you look to grow a new business online or expand your existing business online. This is an important topic as more and more sales channels shift to focus online. So hopefully you'll get some useful information that can help your business grow. And I look forward to taking your questions at the end of the session if we have time for them all. So with that, let's jump right into it. What are the main considerations for you to use digital marketing in your business? What are some of the biggest pros that I see? The main pro is that digital marketing helps you create growth. It's a great driver of growth opportunities as you look to expand your sales online. The first reason for that is because it gives you broad geographical reach. With your online ads or digital marketing tactics, you can be visible regardless of where your customer is located, and you can be very specific in where you want to target your ads to a certain geographical area. So you can limit it to just a city, a zip code, an entire state, or an entire country. This helps you really fine-tune your marketing spend to get the most return on your marketing dollar. Secondly, is that cost efficiency. You can have much greater flexibility than traditional marketing methods when it comes to allocating expenses and projecting what those expenses and the return on your dollars are going to be. Point number 3 is digital marketing gives you a lot of quantifiable results. As we talk about measuring the impact of each dollar spent, your digital marketing platform, whether it's Google or Facebook or some of the others which we're going to discuss, they give you various monitoring dashboards and analytical tools which help you monitor the key metrics to help you really understand how effective your strategies and your campaigns are. These include things like how many emails have been opened if you're sending out direct emails, how many website homepage visits have you received from certain ad campaigns, and of course, direct purchases of your products online resulting in revenue. Point number 4 is that digital marketing enables easier personalization. The vast majority of shoppers nowadays prefer to have personalized marketing messages to them. So they're seeing relevant ads or text in ads that really speak to them, that speaks to their pain points, the problem that your product or service is trying to solve. So with the data collection that happens online, you're able to personalize your ads or your outbound emails with things like people's first names or already knowing some about their purchasing habits their interests, their profession, their education, their demographics, and things like that. So this is all available to you as you go into digital marketing through a variety of dashboards and analytical tools that the big ad companies provide. And number 5 is easy conversions. This means that customers can see an ad for a product they like and immediately purchase it, usually under less than a minute. Now, compare this to a traditional type of marketing approach where they might see an ad somewhere and then take hours or days to actually go and track down the product and buy it. So because you have that easy and fast conversion, it does give you a benefit over traditional marketing. And it shortens that sales cycle. This can help you find customers who are looking for a product that solves a problem they have right away, and they can click and order that from you. So all 5 of these are good reasons why you should be considering using digital marketing as we go into the middle part of 2026. And now we're going to talk about some of the key tactics you can use to really increase your marketing effectiveness. The first one is, how do you use social media and email marketing? In the next few slides, I'm going to talk about how you can use those to increase your brand awareness and personalize your outbound marketing message. Second, I'm going to talk about how you can run paid ads effectively, how you get the most out of the dollars you spend there, and also how do you increase your website search engine optimization, your SEO, which is the way you design your website and use images and words to increase your rank in search results. And I'm also going to talk about how AI search results, as we've all seen happening in Google and other search engines, we get these AI summaries. How is that changing the landscape for the importance of SEO for you as a business owner selling your products online? I'll cover that. Point number 3 is, how do you effectively use affiliate marketing? We're using a third-party influencer to generate traffic and interest in your goods and services online. And lastly, I'm going to wrap it all up by talking about this key element that's going to run through the whole presentation, which is the analytics and the data, because digital marketing really revolves around this concept. And some of you might have never seen a marketing dashboard before with your data and what you should be tracking and how you make use of the information you're gathering. So I'm going to talk about that in a brief overview and to give you a grounding of what key factors you should be looking at there to make sure your marketing campaigns are being very successful. So first, let's start now by talking about the social media marketing. Social media marketing is hugely important nowadays. It means marketing on places like Facebook and Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, and there's other channels as well. And any one channel might be the best for your business, depending on what your product is and where your target customers are spending their time. Now, regardless of which social media platform or platforms you decide to be active on to sell your products, these 3 key takeaways are going to be the same. Social media is great for increasing your brand awareness. This is useful. You can foster online discussions and reply to comments, see what people are saying about your products in real time. This is great for boosting your engagement with your community. And even large Fortune 500 companies use social media as a way to attract attention and have that one-on-one engagement with their customers, whether or not it's a complaint or a question or a positive review. Whatever the feedback is you get online gives you that avenue for engaging, which is very important in fostering a repeat sales cycle with your customers. Point number 2 is that social media gives you a lot of these very useful metrics. It's just built into the social media platforms. So they have the engagement metrics, which are useful for really telling how effective if you're just doing free posts, how effective those are in reaching your target audience, or if you're doing paid ads on social media, how effective are those ads? And thirdly, social media has been proven to be a great way to build the trust, which is so critical in having a successful online business nowadays. We really see this when businesses reply to feedback they receive online. It builds the relationship, and by prioritizing relationship building, It's a good strategy for your mid to long-term growth, whereas other tactics like running a paid ad are really most effective in the short-term growth. So by looking at a broad spectrum of tactics you can use, you can really be hitting the short, immediate, and the long term. And trust and dialogue is one of those critical components to build that long-term, dependable sales revenue. So here are the 4 most popular platforms in the US for social media marketing. There are, of course, others like there's TikTok and others you might be considering. And those are completely fine. I'm just going to cover these 4 main ones here because these are the most applicable to a broad group of businesses. The first one is Facebook, which is undisputedly the largest social media platform in the world. It's a very broad audience, and there's a primary demographic here that's around the 25 to 34-year-old age group. Now, there's also other demographics here, but those that tend to shop on Facebook and learn about their products on Facebook is this 25 to 34-year-old group. So if you're looking to sell to this demographic age group, then Facebook can be a good place to be active on. It has a high level of user engagement, which means users on Facebook tend to spend more time there per day, which means there's a greater chance they'll see your ad or they'll see your post. So it's an excellent platform for storytelling by creating reels and stories and sharing video updates or image updates can help you really get your brand message out there on Facebook. And you can also, utilize Facebook's very in-depth analytic tools because Facebook knows a lot about its users, from their hobbies to their jobs to their education and where they've lived their entire lives and a lot of things. And Facebook will allow you as an advertiser to market to certain groups of people based on all the information it knows about them. The next platform here is X, formerly Twitter. The audience here is very wide-ranging. There's a focus here on real-time news and up-to-date trends. So something that happens within 24 hours, if you're the kind of business that benefits from getting an update out there quickest, then X is definitely the platform for you. It can also help establish a strong brand identity and your personality and help give you the ability to chat with your target customer and reply to their comments. It's also a great place for customer service interactions. We see even very large companies using it for that purpose, where people can send a message to them on X and they have a dedicated person or team to review that and reply promptly. Thirdly is Instagram, owned by Facebook. Instagram is focused on the visual storytelling, whereas Facebook is slightly skewed towards text storytelling. But Instagram here has a younger audience and is skewed slightly towards the female demographic. Instagram's big strength is visual storytelling. So think short video formats, between 30 seconds and 2 or 3 minutes long, images. There's a lot of influencers here who you can find to collaborate. As we talk about the affiliate method of online marketing, we'll talk about how affiliates can be useful in boosting your brand online. Instagram also has the slightly younger and female demographic. So if you're looking to sell to this demographic, then Instagram is a very logical place to be spending your efforts on. And the 4th one here is YouTube. It is the undisputed content leader for videos worldwide. It's a great place to advertise if you have video content and video format ads you would like to put out there. You can use a lot of the data that Google knows about its users, similar to Facebook. Google tracks a lot of data about users on all its platforms. So you can target certain demographics and really put your message out in front of the right people who are already interested in the type of product or service that you're looking to sell. Some of the strengths that YouTube brings is if you have the longer format videos, things that are 10 minutes and 20 minutes long, work really well here. This could include things like tutorials of using your product, reviews of your product, how-to guides, or anything that lends itself well to a longer video form. So whichever one of these 4 or multiple platforms you decide to use, you're going to want to research it, and make sure that your target market is using this platform before you spend your time. Next, I want to talk about email marketing. And this is when you send out emails to a group of people who either subscribed to your email list through your website, or some companies will purchase a list of email addresses of their target market from an organization or a conference that sells them. So some of the things you can do, you should do and don't in your emails. First off, focus on making the content and the subject individualized to your target user. This gets into the personalization aspect where you want to make a very personalized experience. So using somebody's first name, if you're able to pull in data of other products they bought at your shop, you can include that in the top part of the email, really make it focused on them, the problem that your product's helping to solve for them. It'll help you increase your conversion rate, which is the number of people who will see your email and then act on your call to action. Call to action is typically to buy a product, but it can be anything else. It can be learn information or read about a news update. The next thing you want to do in your emails is to let the subscriber know before they submit their email address what kind of emails you'll be sending out. This is important so they don't mark them as spam if they receive emails that they don't find interesting or useful. And along with that, you always need to offer a clear unsubscribe option. And this is so you don't get marked as spam. If too many users click that this email is spam, then Google or Microsoft or the other email providers will quickly flag your email address and your entire domain name as one that's sending out unwanted emails, which can be a very hard process to reverse and actually get the emails you're sending out to come into people's inboxes. So you always want to minimize the amount of times people will say the emails you send out are spam. The next item here is to integrate both informational and promotional emails. So some that are just sharing facts or tidbits or news that your target market finds very valuable. This will keep them interested and engaged in your email and your entire email campaign. Send one a week or twice a month. Want them to be valuable and not just something that people don't ever want to read. And you can also integrate promotional emails, which would be maybe a new product launch or sale you're having. Directly want to drive people to your website or your e-commerce store to buy your product. So a mix of information and promotion is the best. Now, a relatively new thing that's really come about in the last year is to avoid the spam, which is really plaguing everybody's inboxes and in greater quantities year over year, it seems. But the major email providers like Google and Microsoft have implemented all these acronyms, the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. All these mean are that these are additional checks that and policies you need to put in place while you send out emails, so your emails are not flagged as spam. If you've been sending out emails through a domain you've had for years, it's quite likely you do not have these three in place because they're relatively new, which could be leading to your emails not coming to people's inboxes because they're seen as spam. So I'd recommend if you're using an existing business website to check with whoever built it and just make sure that these three things are in place and working correctly. And if you're building a new website, this is a new business, then this should be just built in from the beginning at this point. Now, the last thing I'll mention about spam is that based on current guidelines that have been put out, you can only receive 0.3% being marked as spam before you get in trouble. So this is a very small amount, about 1 in 900 emails. If more than 1 in 900 emails you send out, or sorry, 300 emails. If more than 1 out of 300 emails you send gets flagged as spam by somebody clicking that little button that says this is spam, then you can be shifting into the territory of you will be kind of blacklisted your entire domain name from getting to people's inboxes. So just keep in mind, it doesn't take much, and you don't want to encourage people or give people an excuse to mark your emails as spam. Now, some of the things you should avoid doing Avoid you doing overhyped subject lines in your emails, like all caps or lots of exclamation points. You don't want to send your emails from an address that says no reply. You see this often from big companies like Microsoft or Google because they can't possibly read all the responses they get to emails when they send them out to all of their users. But you as a small or medium-sized business, you want to encourage that conversation. So always make sure you send it from an email like contact at your domain name or info at, something that encourages a reply if something's a question. Make sure you don't send out emails that just offer no visible value to the people who receive them. Don't include too many call to action. Generally, you just want one action you want somebody to take with an email. Could be reading an update, checking on some news, or looking at a new product you launched, or looking at a sale you have, something like that. One call to action for email is IT. Don't send an email that's too long and has too much text. As we've seen a trend over the years, people have kind of less and less attention spans to read lengthy emails. So you could focus on one page of type text or half a page is a good amount to limit yourself to, depending on who your target market is. Rather, consider including a couple more images or even embedding a video, having a link to a video, as people will much prefer to spend time looking at those than reading a lot of text. Next is don't send out emails to a list that's not segmented. And so what this means is that if you have an email list with, say, 1,000 people on it, there's going to be certain groups that you can generalize. So maybe one group are male and female, one group are younger versus older. Whatever your business is, you probably have groups, and it's best to segment your email address list and break it into these different groups. Then when you create an email, you can slightly customize each version for the different segments to increase the chance that they're going to be interested in what they've seen, click on your call to action, and ultimately buy your product or service and generate more revenue for your business. Another thing to avoid is forgetting to optimize your emails for mobile devices. Based on the current statistics, over 70% of emails are read on mobile phones. So if you're sending it from a major platform like MailChimp or another big email provider, they're going to automatically be optimizing the emails for mobile devices. But if you're sending it manually or through an older system, you might find that every now and then your email will come through and not work well or look good on a mobile device. So you want to be careful about that. Make sure you're sending emails at the right time of the day and also in the right quantities. It's a bit challenging to generalize what the right time of day is and the right quantity because it does vary from business to business and industry to industry. If you have more questions about that after the presentation, maybe I could get some more information from you and help you develop a plan there. But generally speaking, you want to be very consistent with the time and the quantity of emails you send out. And the last thing is, don't make the mistake of ignoring your analytics. The analytics of your emails will tell you all sorts of useful things, like how many people read them, how many people clicked on your call to action. And if you have your tracking set up properly, you can even see how much revenue or sales were generated from sending that email. So really useful stuff to know, and all information that's essentially at your fingertips, as long as you set it up and configure it properly and understand what to look for. The next marketing tactic we're going to talk about are paid ads. These are also known as PPC or pay-per-click. Generally, when you post one of these ads on a network, such as Google, which includes YouTube, Microsoft, which includes LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, you even have ads on Amazon, Platform X, and TikTok. Typically, you pay a small amount of money every time somebody clicks on one of your ads. That's especially true with Google and YouTube. You only pay when it's clicked on. Facebook and Instagram have shifted a bit towards you pay a tiny amount, and I mean it's a fraction of a penny, every time somebody even sees your ad, whether or not they click on it. And then if they do click on it, you pay a little bit more. So generally speaking, you're talking about between 20 and 40 cents per click of your ad on one of these platforms. So it's a relatively small amount of money per click, but of course, the conversion rate is usually quite low. So if you have 100 people click on an ad and you're paying 40 cents a click, if only 2 or 3 buy something, you got to calculate carefully if you're breaking even on the ad or the revenue. So how do you design your ad to be the most effective? There's a lot of detail we can go into as far as your specific product and industry. But some general guidelines that are useful to everybody are the 4 metrics here. The ad algorithm prioritizes these 4. Now prioritizes your ad based on how it ranks in these 4 categories. The first category is the quality of the ad itself. So if it's text-based ad, does it have proper grammar and punctuation? Or are there any spelling errors or other grammar oddities? Those will penalize the quality. So you want to make sure it's very properly worded. There's no slang unless you really know that will work in your market. You want to be careful not to overuse that. The next one is keyword relevance. It's matching up the words and short phrases in your ad with the search term that somebody has searched for on Google, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, or these other platforms. You will probably have a good idea of what words to put in your ad just because you know the product you're selling very well. You know your target market very well, hopefully. And if you don't, you should probably do some more research. And you can write your ads based on the keywords that are popular and commonly used with your product type. Thirdly is the landing page quality. So each of these ads will have a link that usually goes to buy the product that you're trying to sell. Similar to the ad quality, this landing page quality score, the search engines will look at the page, the website, and if it has grammar errors or punctuation errors, or it has too much text or no text, or it just looks weird, or maybe it doesn't work on a mobile device, there's a lot of factors that can give you a lower quality score for that landing page. So you want to make sure the page is optimized for mobile, it's very clean and well built, it doesn't look weird, it has the right amount of text and images and all that content. And the fourth factor is the bid amount. I mentioned that you pay a small amount, like around 20 cents when somebody clicks on an ad. That's a default parameter that's set based on your industry and how much competition there is around those keywords, all automatically researched and derived by an algorithm that Google runs. However, if you go into advanced settings, sometimes you can change the bid amount, usually by making it higher, and this will give your ad a better chance of showing up if it's a very competitive space. So for example, used car dealerships in big cities, there's a lot of competition for their ads. It's a high value product and there's a lot of used car dealerships. So they often bid much more than the default. They might bid $5 or $10 per click. And that guarantees their ad will show up higher than the competitors. So you might not need to change the bid amount. Often, if you're a startup or small business, you should just leave that at the default and it should be fine. But understanding these 4 factors and how they all contribute to the effectiveness and if your ad shows up in a search result is important to know. And just a quick comment here on AI trends, because this month TikTok banned AI-generated voices and images from promotional activities, specifically live streams, but I think it'll be rolling out across all types of advertising on top platform. We've seen a backlash of AI-generated content, especially in ads, as it's just become, I guess, the platforms feel like it's become annoying to their users of the platform, so they're starting to take more measures against it. And whereas 6 months ago, it was totally fine to make an AI image and use it in an ad, we might be shifting to a place where AI content is being banned, as we saw TikTok just start this. So something to keep an eye on. I do teach a course on how to use AI for your business marketing, where I talk about image generation, and I'll be following this trend very closely and updating that presentation with more information as well. But just wanted to mention it here. The second tactic here is the search engine optimization. So whereas everything we talked about with paid ads, you have to pay to get the traffic to go to your website. Search engine optimization is free website visitors. So it sounds great because you're not paying anything directly to get these visitors. It's just about, does your website show up in what's called the organic search results, not the paid search results. And just like with the ads, there's four major factors that go into, does your website show up in the search results? The first one is the quality of the content. Again, the grammar, the spelling. Is it using a good amount of text to image ratio? Does the website look like it's of a modern standard? Point number three, is it mobile friendly? So all of these things also impact the SEO score of your website. But the second factor here is the level of user engagement. So if Google sees that people are going to a page you have set up to sell your product, they're going there and they're leaving within 1 or 2 seconds, that's a bad sign for Google. It's saying that people aren't finding that page relevant for what they're looking for. So it'll penalize your search engine optimization if people don't stay on the page long enough. So you might wonder, well, how long is long enough? There's no real hard and fast answer to that, but it's always the longer the better. So if you can encourage people to spend 30 seconds or 60 seconds on the page, that's much, much better than 2 or 3 seconds. You can measure and watch the level of user engagement over time, and I'll show you how to do that later on. And that's going to give you that analytical insight to help you understand how well it's working. And the fourth factor here is the number and the quality of inbound links to your website and the product page of the product you're trying to sell. The inbound links just mean it's another website, another domain name that is sending traffic to yours. It has a link to your site. So let's say, for example, you were mentioned in a local newspaper and they put a link to your business in their article online. That is a good example of an inbound link. Another good example would be if an influencer posted a link to your page on their Facebook page or in a Facebook post. That would be a great inbound link. You want as many inbound links as possible to your website. It really does show Google and the search engines that, hey, you are an authoritative source of information on this topic or with this community. The quality of the links means that if you have a page that's provided a link to yours and the originating page is getting, say, 10 visitors a month, that's not a lot of people going to that page that's linking to yours. So that's not as good as if that page had 10,000 visitors a month. That would be a higher quality source of an inbound link as far as Google is concerned. So the bigger the website linking to yours is, the better for your SEO. Now, I also said I'd mention an update here about how the AI summaries in the search results are shifting the importance of SEO. This is something that's been changing over the course of the last year or so. And what's happening is that Google, say, for example, is summarizing information you might be finding directly on the website yourself, whether it's a product or some other information, and providing the AI summary before any of the search results, before the paid results, and before the organic results. So what this is leading to is people not having to click on a website to go get the information or the content. They're getting it from the AI summary. So then how then does the SEO matter anymore? Will it matter in the future? This is a question that is still being decided, I would say, between Google and the internet community at large. In Europe, the European Union recently, I believe, fined Google and said to link to the website where your AI summaries are getting their information. They're going to try to force Google to do that because they want to ensure that if you build the website, you're getting some credit for that. And Google's not just providing the AI summary in your website. So it still remains to be seen how all of this plays out. I think in the next year to 2 years, things will go one way or another. But we're going to have to keep an eye on it. For now, SEO is still an important part of your digital marketing campaign, I believe. Though in a year or two, that might not be the case. And there's a quick summary about some of the ways you can improve your SEO if you want to. If you have an existing website, you want to quickly give it a little update. It's always a good idea to see if you can improve your SEO score. The first tactic here is to do some keyword research and understand what your audience is actually searching for when they're looking for your products. You might need to update some of your words on your website to better align with those searches. There's some great tools like the Google Keyword Planner or SEMrush, which are very effective at helping you understand, oh, you should be using these terms and replacing the older terms on your website, and that'll help increase your SEO. You can focus on long tail keywords, which are multiple words, short phrases. Sometimes it's better to really build those into your website and your homepage rather than single keywords, because single keywords can have more competition. So by using the longer phrases, sometimes you can be more specific and direct and have less competition for the SEO score, so boost your website up. Point number 2 here is on-page SEO, optimizing things like title tags, meta descriptions, and header tags with the keywords that you found in step 1 that are in the search results and in the searches that people are putting in. Point number 3 is the content quality. The relevant and high quality content needs to be engaging. So good images, if you have an outdated looking website, you might want to update the look. You might want to update the images or consider producing a short video or 2, because people really do like to watch video content more on a website, and this can help boost the perceived quality of your website and the content. And lastly is the page load speed. This is something that if you built a website in the past, you might have images that are very large in size, and people on slower internet connections might see those images load really slowly. Sometimes this will make people just leave your website altogether because it's loading at a frustratingly slow pace. I think we've all been there. We've all said, I'm not going to wait for this website. So there's several tools you can use, like Google Page Speed Insights, which will immediately tell you any problem that's found with the page load speed. Probably the images are the culprit. Other things can be unmodified code or lots of JavaScript running. Some of these things you can address pretty much yourself. If you have ever changed out images on your website, you can probably find out how to shrink them and use these smaller file size images. Other things are harder to fix, and you might need to go to the original person who built your website and give them a list of things to fix, or hire somebody else if you don't have the original developer anymore, and hire a freelancer who can come and make improvements. I think every couple of years, it's a really good idea to see how well your page is performing, for its speed, for its compatibility, and it's probably an investment of a couple $1,000 once every year or two to make sure your website is going to be well optimized. It helps with your SEO, it helps with your visitor satisfaction, and ultimately it will boost your online revenue. Tactic I want to talk about is affiliate marketing. This is a kind of marketing that not a lot of people utilize, but it can be a very effective way to start out, get a boost in your online presence and your online sales. The way it works is you compensate a third-party partner for any sales or business that they generate on your behalf. You can access the people who are already in your industry, they're thought leaders of your industry, or people who kind of have the ear of your target market. They can be people like celebrities, online influencers, or any other trusted voice. So some of the pros and cons of going down the route of an affiliate, using affiliate marketing. Pros are that it can give you very quick access to a broad market. Let's say the influencer you're finding has 50,000 followers on a platform like Facebook, whereas your business has 0 or just a few dozen because it's just starting out. If that influencer makes one post, it's immediately seen by most of his audience. And if it's in the same industry you're selling your product, this can be a huge way to generate interest and sales for your product. So it gives you that access to the broad market. They're qualified leads because you're going to only approach influencers or online celebrities who are in your market. So you're going to know that they're already tapped into the customers that are the target customers you're also trying to sell to. And it can be a surprisingly low cost way to advertise versus running online ads. or spending lots of money improving the website or improving SEO. Some of the cons, though, are that it can be subject to fraud. You have less creative control over what the influencer says and how they might review or describe the product. And it can be vulnerable to theft of a product if you're giving out a sample. There's maybe no guarantee that you'll be given back if it was supposed to. So you do lose some of the control of the process. It is not your employee. They are going to say ultimately what they want to say. So some pros and cons. One example of a very large affiliate program is one called Amazon Affiliates. And oftentimes you'll see reviews of products and they'll have a link to go buy this on Amazon. So they're part of the Amazon affiliate program and they get around 5% of the sales price in a commission fee. So that's just one example of how these affiliate platforms can work. As you approach an influencer, it'll probably be much more one-on-one negotiation with them. What will their compensation look like? What do you expect them to do? Can you make an agreement and meet where both parties are happy? So there are lots of opportunities with affiliate marketing to look into. If you do want to explore affiliate marketing, there's three main types of affiliates, and this might be it's useful to you just to know kind of what level of affiliate you might be looking for. The first level, the unattached affiliate, is going to have no connection or real authority in the product niche that you're selling in. The next type of affiliate would be a related affiliate. They'll promote products they have a connection with somehow. They're connected with the industry, they're a trusted voice there, but they're not necessarily going to use your product, review your product. For that, it'll be what's called an involved affiliate. They're going to go through the efforts of using a product, reviewing it to their target market. Of course, we hope their review is very positive, but you lose creative control for the most part, so it might not be exactly what you would like. So you can kind of decide what level of affiliate would be looking for as you approach people online and start these conversations. I mentioned that the analytics is a very important part of digital marketing success. Sometimes it's overlooked. I know a lot of people, business owners who I meet with, I'd say 50% roughly or more, are not really interested in analytics at all. They're too busy and they're not interested in the numbers and the data. I'm going to tell you why it's a mistake to ignore your analytics if you're going to do this kind of online marketing, and how you can make the most of the analytics information you get without going crazy over all the details. So we're going to focus on the 6 key analytic factors that are the most important for you to understand and really be keeping an eye on once or twice a month. Number 1 are the traffic sources. These are typically the ones coming to your own business website you'd be looking at, but it could also be traffic sources from to a Facebook page, perhaps, or an e-commerce page you have if you're selling on a platform like Amazon. You can still see some of this information, but generally speaking, these are for your own website. Are the traffic sources direct visitors, meaning they probably clicked on the link in an email you sent out, or they directly came to your website through a link click? Did they come to your site through organic search? That would be your SEO proving its worth. Did they come to your website through a referral link, like with an affiliate? So understanding where your traffic comes from and how it shifts month over month is really important to know where you should be focusing your marketing efforts. Point number 2 are the page views, which is going to measure the number of times your website visitors load your pages and which pages on your website get the most attention. Now, if you have several product pages and you notice one has really high number of views, but there's not many sales or 0 sales happening on the product, there could be a problem with the description, with the link not working. So by looking at this can help you identify problems before they get out of hand. Third is the average session duration, also called the session engagement rate. Now, we talked a little bit about keeping the visitors on your website pages longer because that helps your SEO. So the longer their experiences on their page, then the more likely they are ultimately to tell other people about it. They're finding useful information and to buy your product. It also influences your SEO, as the longer they spend, the better Google perceives your website to be and increases its search result rank. As I mentioned, posting good information, having engaging images and videos are primary ways to have a good session duration. There's no hard and fast rule of what this number should be. I would say look at it, if you're starting with no information, look at what it is this month, look at it next month. You want to see that it's increasing month over month. Fourth is the bounce rate, or the number of people who leave your site after only visiting a page and for a couple of seconds. This is a big red flag to Google and Facebook and other search engines, because they're going to think your page either was misleading and somebody went there expecting something different, or the content you have is just totally unsuitable for the person who clicked on the link and they're just leaving right away. If you have a high bounce rate, and again, there's no real hard and fast rule of what a good or bad bounce rate looks like, but start to measure right away. You can track it over time. You should see that bounce rate going down, and this will be the measure of the effectiveness of your content and your strategies. Fifthly is the exit rate, which shows the page of your website that people end up leaving your website from. So this means they navigate away from your site, or they close that tab in the browser, they leave your site. Ultimately, this is going to be something like a checkout confirmation page. Once they bought a product, they've got the confirmation, great, they close the browser because they're done there. If the exit rate is high from other pages, you can look and see what pages those are and maybe help you identify problems or ways to improve the content of your website. Sixthly is your conversion rate. A very important metric that'll measure the percentage of your website visitors who act on a certain conversion goal. Typically, and I would say 95% of cases, this is making a purchase. But it could also be something else. Like, say you want to drive people to subscribe to a newsletter. This is a very important goal for you to have. You can measure that. So any conversion you want to measure is useful. Conversion rates of people buying products are generally quite low, between maybe 1% and 3%, depending on type of product and your industry. So you don't expect a super high conversion rate, and which is why it's important to know how many thousands of website visitors you got each month. And out of that, you got 10 or 20 or 30 sales. Now, that might be a great conversion rate for you. That might be a bad one, but you don't know until you start measuring and tracking it. And then over time, you can see how that shifts with your different digital marketing tactics. This is an example of a typical analytical dashboard and what this looks like. You could be looking at something like this on Google Analytics, on Facebook Analytics, which is called Facebook Pixel, if you've ever heard of that. TikTok, YouTube, pretty much any of the places where you would run ads and gather data, including your own website. You'll have access to analytics of visitors to your own website. You're going to look at something kind of similar to this. So here are the main things that you will want to pay attention to. The first one is a graph that shows over time, usually how many sessions or visitors your website have. In the example here, it's fluctuating. There's dips, peaks between practically 0 website visitors some days all the way up to about 40. This is pretty common. You're going to see something like this, and hopefully the peaks are going to correspond to you making a new post on social media or some activity you did to generate the visitors. You'll understand then, oh, I made the post on Facebook, I received 40 visitors, and see the direct correlation or relationship there. So understanding the timeline of a month or a 6-month period is very useful. Secondly, in the bottom left-hand corner is the average session time or duration. So again, you're going to start with wherever you are now, and it might be 30 seconds. It might be 3 seconds, or it might be 3 minutes, but keeping track of that will be important. In the bottom right-hand corner, you will usually have a conversion number. Again, you can specify whatever conversion goal you want. Typically, it's just 1 to keep it simple. That 1 probably should be a purchase of a product. You really measure that by somebody getting to that order confirmation page. They've put in their credit card number, they've submitted the order, they've got confirmation. Once that happens, they become a conversion. Now, of course, they might say return a product or request a refund. So some of those cases, a small percent might not be revenue generators, but for the purposes of tracking a sale, they do count. So the conversion number is a very important one. You want to see that go up along with your marketing efforts. And if you're running paid ads, you need to see the conversion rate going up. Otherwise, your paid ad probably isn't paying for itself. It's losing money. Nextly, we see a chart here that shows the sessions and especially where visitors came from here. So a session is just what time when somebody came to your website. We can see in this example that about 40 came from email you sent out. 40 came from referrals. We had 37 from paid search. So those would be your ads, your PPC ads. 35 here from an other category. You'll always see this other, and it's always a bit confusing what it means. But typically, if somebody is using an incognito window or like a privacy browser type of thing, you might not have the data to know how they got to your website, and so it'll show up as another category. Direct will mean probably they had bookmarked your website and they're directly from a bookmark or typing it into the URL tab. Social media, and organic search. So here you're going to have a breakdown similar to this, and it'll be interesting for you over time to see how these trends shift with where your visitors come from. Now, I do have an entire presentation in a few months about AI and how to use it for your marketing. It's very in-depth on a lot of important topics. But I want to quickly cover here some of the top AI tools you can use for digital marketing. As we're in 2026 now, a lot of these have become very full-featured, and some of the smaller and less useful ones have kind of died or gone by the wayside. So these are the 4 biggest and most useful ones I'll cover here briefly. Firstly, we have OpenAI, which is a very versatile, useful tool for marketing. It's good for doing things like writing your content, brainstorming ideas. It could be topics for blog posts. It could be topics for social media posts. You can even create your images. As we talked about, TikTok is banning AI images, so we'll see how this all shakes out. But OpenAI and ChatGPT can create images. It has excellent language quality, so it's always basically perfect grammar, very fast. It's very versatile. The downside to OpenAI's ChatGPT is that it doesn't always get its facts right. So you might want to check any facts that would be easily found to be incorrect, like a number or a date. It won't know your full business context unless you use it quite a bit and learns about your business. For this, you might need to upgrade to the $20 a month tier, not just the free tier. The free tier will learn a little bit about your business based on your chats, but it has a short attention span. So it doesn't remember too much. But if you do pay for it, you unlock much larger context, and they can remember all your past chats. So they'll then customize the content for you much more accurately once it knows your business better. The next one here is called Jasper AI. It's specifically meant for creating copy and thinking of marketing campaigns. It's good if you want to do quick updates on social media. You want to develop a brand personality. It can help you with that. It can also help you analyze customer feedback you're receiving online and social media channels, and it can suggest replies or solutions to problems. Currently, the paid tier is the one you would need for a business. And you do need to teach it about your business as well. It's not going to know everything about your context unless you kind of teach it and get that to speed. You can upload documents like PDFs and Word docs that describe your business, and it can learn more about your business that way and give you more specific guidance. Third is Midjourney, which is a dedicated image generation tool. For a long time, it's been considered the best. But now it has a lot of competition from OpenAI and indeed Gemini and some others. But it can be very good at generating images for keeping a good brand image and brand perception for you online. It's great at visual storytelling. It can be useful if you're doing influencer collaborations and need images. And it can be more engaging slightly with a younger demographic than with older demographics. Younger demographics tend to be more accepting of obvious AI images than older crowds. So again, this might be shifting as the perception. People might be getting overwhelmed by AI images if they're too obvious, and even maybe younger demographics might reject it at some point. But so yeah, this is an ongoing and kind of a shifting landscape, but Midjourney is your best go-to for images. And lastly is Surfer SEO. It's built specifically to help you improve your website SEO. It's good for helping you research and develop that long form content, the longer phrases that'll really help your website text match those search terms. They can also write content for tutorials or product descriptions and things like that for your website. It's not a full set of SEO tools like some others that are out there, and it works best with human edited content. So if you generate an AI text with a ChatGPT and then have Surfer SEO try to interact with it, it tends not to perform as well than if it was starting with human generated content. So these are 4 tools. Of course, there's many more AI tools out there. In a few months, if you're interested in learning much more about this topic, you can find AI on marketing presentation, and I'll be covering a lot more information. The question I often get asked is, if you're in the B2B or B2C realm, the business to business selling and business to consumer selling, how does that shift your digital marketing priorities? It does influence it quite a bit. So I want to leave you with 3 bullet points here in case you're in the B2B realm. Most of what we talked about was really B2C focused. So if you're in B2B, your clients tend to have longer decision-making processes. You're not just an individual consumer anymore, making an instinctive purchase of a product that looks good. You're now part of a larger organization that has checks and balances. So you're going to have a longer sales funnel or a longer sales process. So digital marketing then becomes about building relationships with the clients, because you're not focused just on a short-term sale or promotion. You're focused on more of a long-term relationship with another business. And therefore, B2B transactions are usually based on logic and evidence. And your B2B digital marketing campaign should be putting that upfront and center. And B2C content is more about emotions. It's more about solving that immediate need or expanding that gratification. So in B2C sales situations, you talk about the feelings, the emotions your product will evoke. That's not as important in B2B. And B2B sales decisions tend to be more than, again, one person's input. So your marketing material should drive them and be shareable or downloadable. So white papers, research, things like that. And the B2B decisions are more based on the evidence and the logic, and B2C more based on a good feeling about the brand. So if your brand is giving back to the community or helping the environment, that's usually more important selling B2C than it is B2B. So just a few takeaways. If you have more questions, or maybe you're selling B2G, business to government, which I know a lot of our Northern Virginia clients at the SBDC do, they sell to the government. Feel free to ask me questions there, and if I can answer them, concern. So I'd just like to wrap it all up. We talked about the huge variety of marketing tactics, all of which I think play a role in a successful online marketing campaign. And it's a lot of information to cover in just over an hour. So digital marketing is useful because you can get insight into your customers' preferences and their likes. You can understand their buying habits. You can understand what on your website or your e-commerce page is working and not working. And you can better target your customers with specific email campaigns and other outreach. So I also want to leave you with 2 final tips. The first tip is to stay active. Online marketing is evolving very rapidly. I've been teaching online marketing for over 5 years, and it has never been changing as fast as it is this year. Mainly because of AI and just everything surrounding that. So it's important you continue to learn about new changes. For example, TikTok and their announcement just this month about their policy regarding AI text and images. You should talk to other business owners about how they market online, and also follow news leaders and trends in your specific industry. Now, a lot of people coming to this part of the presentation are a bit confused of just where to start. Which of the four main tactics are the best ones to focus on? My recommendation here is to go with your gut instinct. What do you feel is right? I say that because you know your product and your target market better than anybody else, hopefully. So your gut instinct is what's really going to guide you here. There's many different forms of the digital marketing tactics, and many are free. They just take your time and a little bit of willingness to learn about them. And I talked to a lot of business owners who just started with following their gut for a few months, and they were surprised at how successful their efforts were with either their paid ads, their SEO, or their other tactics, and maybe their emails. But always pay attention to the data and the analytics, right? That'll tell you an important story. And those businesses that outcompete others with online marketing are usually those businesses that are getting the right insights out of their data. They're showing them how to adapt month over month and modify your strategy. So I'll just leave you with that, to go with your gut and take it one step at a time. I hope this was a useful presentation and you got a lot of good information out of it. I'd be happy to answer your questions in the time we have remaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. We do have a few questions that have come in. Let's see, we're going to start at the top here. What should be the typical marketing budget for a small, under 5 people consulting company?
That's a great question. I get asked that a lot. The typical starting budget is going to be about $100 a month at a bare minimum. You would probably divide that between maybe 2 different marketing platforms. I'd recommend Facebook if you're active on Facebook, and maybe also Google. You can also consider other platforms like TikTok or X if you already have a presence there. But generally speaking, for service firms and consulting firms, at Facebook and Google are the 2 places where your target customers are typing and searching for, consulting services near me, whatever the type of consulting is you do. So having your ad there will be the most visible way to get in front of them.
Let's see. How can SEO be utilized for consulting business?
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same client that asked both of those, same consulting business.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of consulting you're doing, but I think for consulting in general, I'm sorry, what was the specifics of the question?
How can SEO be utilized for consulting business?
So I think it's similar to the answer to the first one, where people will be searching Google for, let's say you're doing aerospace consulting. Aerospace consulting, Arlington, Virginia. So by using the right keywords, aerospace, consulting, even the location, by putting those on your website, not just in the paragraphs, but in the header areas, and with enough frequency, so usually not just once, but 2 or 3 or 4 times on a page, that is going to link up the search term with the words on your website. In addition to the other SEO factors that I mentioned that go into that algorithm, having a good landing page quality, having good inbound links and all that. So just as a general place to start, that's what I'd recommend. But of course, fine-tuning your SEO can go much, much deeper. There's specific freelancers and professionals who only do SEO. And so they have much more targeted advice once they learn more about your business. But if you have further questions or would like further help about your SEO, I could help you a little bit more directly. You can email the address here on the screen, which is help@virginiasbdc.org. And just mention that you came to my presentation today. If you had some follow-up questions, I'd be happy to try to look at those in more depth.
Great. Let's see. Next question. Can you talk more about how to find the right digital marketer? I recently hired someone and I think she's using all AI stuff and not what you're talking about.
It's always been a bit challenging to find a good digital marketer. I mean, even 10 or 15 years ago, I worked with startup clients and we had the same challenges. And it's even, I would say, worse now because many of them are turning to AI to accelerate how quickly they can produce material. So the first thing is, if you feel like it's not meeting your needs, I would just cancel that relationship as soon as possible. You can use AI as well as they can, and then you don't have to pay them. So there's nothing really special going on there. Knowing more about the type of business you're in and your industry, I can possibly give you some direct recommendations with marketers that I've worked with in the past that have gotten really good reviews from SBDC clients. But I think, again, let's take that offline. So you can email help@virginiasbdc.org and just say you'd like, I'll need a bit more information, but I can send you over a list of people that you can review them.
Fabulous. Next question. Of all the tools and platforms you mentioned, which ones are free and best for a startup?
So the tools, I'll go back to this slide. We're probably looking at these tools here. OpenAI has a free tier, but like I said, it has some limitations. Jasper currently is paid only. Midjourney allows you to create a few images for free, but then you need to pay. I'm not sure about Surfer. I think they have a few features for free, but then you have to pay. So as far as answering your question, what's the best for a startup? It depends what your goal is. If your goal is to write some text for your website for SEO, or maybe you want some content for social media, then OpenAI with their content writing is really good. That's what I'd recommend. OpenAI and ChatGPT is kind of a jack of all trades in a lot of ways. They provide images, text, they can do research and analysis. So that's good if you just want one that can handle a lot of different things. So I will say I cover this topic in a lot more depth in that AI presentation I'm giving in a few months. So I can't get into all the details now. We don't have the time. But if you want to wait a few months, you can. Otherwise, I believe the recording from the last session is on our website, right?
It is,
So,
correct. And I just
you
put
can,
that in the chat, so how
oh,
to access that. So
great. So that presentation is a few months old, and of course, it's going to be updated quite a bit in a few months when I give it again. But if you're looking for that information, you can go watch that presentation recording.
great. Thank you. Let's see. I'm interested in learning more about platform suggestions for email or all-in-one platforms for online courses.
So I assume you're selling an online course, it sounds like, is your product.
If Heidi, if you're still here and you want to elaborate on that. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, quite a few people sell online courses. I would say almost one every time we give a presentation like this, that's their product. So there's a few platforms that really focus on helping you market an online course. That's all they do. So one is called Coursera. Um, One is called Udemy, like Academy, which is where udemy.com. But those are two of the biggest ones, and they provide you the platform for uploading videos, charging for them, taking payments, marketing them to some extent. They do it all. So if you're just focused on courses, you want the simplest solution to get your courses out there, let people search for them and find them, then check out Coursera or Udemy.
Cameron, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you spell out those? I'll put those into the chat, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'll need to refresh my memory about other stuff.
Sorry. You've been, yeah, we talked about earlier, you were breaking up a little bit, so
Oh, okay. Can you hear me okay now?
yeah, it's been good enough.
Sorry about that. So it's udemy.com.
udemy.com.
Yeah. And the other one is Coursera.
SEI. Is that also .com?
.com. Coursera. Coursera.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. And there's someone just wondering, questioning the demographics for Facebook users being 25 to 34. Just
Yeah.
wondering.
So that stat is the age group that's most active in finding their products to buy on Facebook.
Okay.
So users of Facebook actually, the biggest demographic of users is shifting more towards older people,
Right.
55 to 65 as users, but they're not actively shopping there as much. So the shopper demographic, which is what I was focused on there, is still 24 to 35 as of the last information that I read about it. And by the way, I turned off my video because I think that'll improve my audio quality.
It
So let me
helps a
know if
little
it
bit.
sounds better.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I think sometimes it's just, yeah, transmission or weather or whatever. Um, that's all the questions we have right now. So if there are any other questions, I'll put a shout out to everyone. Okay, so someone is asking, where should you go to market older shoppers?
It's a good question. I don't get asked frequently, where do you advertise to older shoppers? My first thought would be Facebook is still going to be good. But I think it depends at this point, not so much what platform is for the age group, but what platform is your product being searched for. So like, um, understanding where your target market is looking for your product is just as important as the age group your target market is. So, knowing more about your business could help maybe give a more specific recommendation, but also probably it's a bit too much to go into here. So if you wanted to shoot us an email, I could get some more information, probably help you get a more targeted recommendation.
Great. And that is the help at Virginia SBDC, which I put in the chat as well. Okay, any other questions? And while we're waiting, Cameron, if you have some last words of wisdom.
Well, I think that we covered the important marketing topics here, and then always keep an eye on what's happening with the AI trends. I think in the next month or two, we'll see even more progress being made, and it'll be shifting how small businesses can successfully market online. Either more platforms will start banning AI content, but then the question is, how do they even know it is AI content? So sometimes it's hard to tell. So it'll be an ongoing interesting situation. I'll be keeping an eye on it. So if you come to more of my presentations, and I do give one once a month through the SBDC, I will always be covering what's happening with AI, at least briefly. So you'll get the kind of the latest news and what's important for you as a small business owner.
Great. Cameron, thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today, stuck with us, and remind you that you're going to receive an email with a link to both the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. We hope to see you at our next session. And someone is asking, when will the email with the link be sent to us? It should go out by tomorrow, so it won't be long. So thank you all again, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.